Hiya, and welcome to Slightly Different Running Diary today. For a start, there's no running. A couple of weeks ago I was down in London for work and I had some spare time and I went to visit these guys. Body scan, and got a DEXA scan. If you're unfamiliar with DEXA scans, they're a type of whole body x-ray which measures your body composition. They were originally developed to measure bone density in a clinical setting. But before I share my scan, I thought I would discuss why I wanted a DEXA scan. Firstly, and to be honest, this may be my biggest reason, it was just simple curiosity. I'm generally interested in stats, measurements, and analysis, and that's just right up my street. I'm like a born optimizer. Secondly, I have a set of Garmin scales, and they allow you to calibrate them against an accurate source like DEXA. So it's good to then have scales at home which I feel are a little bit more calibrated to me. But thirdly, and most importantly, I think it's useful but not essential step to achieve my overall health and fitness goals. My main fitness goal just now is to improve my running and get to a point where I can comfortably run 50 miles on my 50th birthday. But I also have other goals. I've been doing kickboxing now for about 8 months and I really enjoy it and I want to get better. When I started running, I started becoming a bit more health conscious in general. I watch what I eat a lot more and trying to be just generally healthier and fitter. Although we're coming into Christmas now, so we'll see how that goes. And not all these goals work well together. For a long distance runner, generally lighter is better. There's just less of you to move around. But for kickboxing, you need a bit more overall muscle mass to punch and kick with power and control for a sustained period. For general health, lower body fat is healthier up to a point, and additional muscle is generally healthier up to a point. So, I just need to build muscle mass and lose fat mass? Well, yes. And isn't that the goal of most fitness programs? Well, again, yes. However, it's actually very difficult, if not impossible, to do both of these things optimally at the same time. You need enough calories to build muscle. If you don't get enough, then your body will prioritize survival over muscle hypertrophy. But you need to be in a calorie deficit to lose body fat, and the bigger the deficit, the quicker the fat loss. Just before we look at the scan, it's worth briefly touching on BMI. BMI is your weight in kilograms divided by your height in meters squared. It's generally recognised that BMI is an imperfect metric for many reasons, in particular for those that are in any way athletic, as it doesn't discriminate between lean and adipose weights. My BMI is currently 23.4. The healthy range is considered between 18.5 and 24.9. So I'm towards the upper end of the healthy range, despite actually being the fittest I think I've ever been in my life. And I want the DEXA scan information to help inform my overall body composition goals. So looking at the scan, the first thing I want to say is that I do find it a bit weird looking at my skeleton just for fun. There's just something odd about it. So DEXA groups body tissue into 3 groups. It's fat mass, lean mass, and bone mineral content. Here we can see the metric that everyone cares about the most, the percentage body fat. I'm 15.9, which is higher than I expected. However, the consultant said that DEXA usually measures higher than other methods, as it sees more adipose tissue in other methods. If we look at the distribution charts provided by Bodyscan, for a man my age, I'm somewhere between the 1st and 10th percentile, which is a great result. I really was happy about that. However, it's something that's worth remembering about body fat percentage is you could actually be carrying quite a relatively large fat mass, which is bad, but if you're also carrying quite a lot of muscle so that you're heavy overall, your body fat percentage will be low despite carrying an excess mass of fat. A better metric is a bit like BMI, but it's your fat mass divided by your height squared. It's your fat mass index, and I get a score of, 3.84. And you can see from the table again that I'm about the 6th percentile. So it turns out that major fat loss probably isn't on the cards. However, in saying that, my visceral fat score is 53.1. Visceral fat is the fat around your organs, which is particularly bad for your health. And that puts me around in the 18th percentile. So it's an area of I would say, of greater concern for me than my overall fat mass index. So while you can't target visceral fat directly, bringing down your overall body fat percentage will bring down your visceral fat percentage. So bringing down that body fat percentage, I feel, would not be a waste of time for my health because of that sort of improvement in visceral fat. Yeah, and then it would take my overall fat mass index to about the 2nd or 3rd percentile. I mean, going beyond that seems completely unnecessary. So that's fat mass. Looking at lean mass and muscle, there is a lean mass index. Lean mass is more than just muscle, it's your organs as well. But muscle is the only lean tissue type that we expect to see being under any sort of control, really. My lean mass index is 19.3, which puts me just above the 50th percentile for my age. So while really great score on the fat side, just a kind of middle of the road score on the lean mass side. So I feel that I've really got a lot of potential for improvement there. I've been doing strength and conditioning for about 6 months now, and I'm still in that new gains phase. If you got it seriously, you might hope to put on 10 kilograms in a year. I wouldn't say I've been going at it that seriously, but I think I'd probably put on about 3 or 4 kilograms of muscle. If I could do the same over the next 6 months, I would say I'd be more than happy with that. Any more than that, to be honest, I think would probably be detrimental to my running, and or certainly wouldn't be a benefit to much else, and maybe a detriment to my running. The DEXA scan does actually break things down quite a bit more, so you can see your muscle distribution by arms, legs and torso. My right arm is slightly heavier than my left, but I'm right-handed, so that's no surprise. My left leg is a full ½ kilogram lighter than my right, and given the serious IT band issues that I had this year, I do wonder if there's a causal relationship there. The scan also includes bone mineral density, and I'm about the 70th percentile. It's not something I'm going to focus on, but the weight bearing exercises and the kickboxing should be good for that, as long as I get good nutrition. So how do I take this forward into a plan? Well, as I mentioned at the start, it's hard to grow a lot of muscle while being in a calorie deficit. So for me, I think it means that I'll be taking my time to reduce my body fat. However, I think I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of that sort of top end maximum muscle building potential in order to lose a bit of fat slowly. It's all a balance. Because I'm not seeking to be putting on a huge amount of muscle, I think that's a trade-off I'm willing to make. But since this is a bit of an analytical exercise, let's put some numbers against it. My weekly calorie expenditure is something around 19,000 calories. So if I want to lose 2 kilograms, let's say over 10 weeks, that's a total of 15,400 calories, or a total weekly deficit of 1,540 calories, which is actually just 8% of my calorie expenditure. It's not a crazy amount, and I think if I can keep my macros good, it shouldn't really impact on my muscle building too much. So while I've had a bit of a plan in the past, it hasn't really been based on my specific numbers. It's just been based on weight and what is my sort of outgoing calories, but wasn't really based on an accurate body composition goals or anything like that. So now I feel I've got a bit of a plan which isn't based on generalizations and estimates, but based on actual measurements for me. I'm now also working with a coach to help me program my weeks and months. But the DEXA scan is not a one and done exercise. I fully intend to have another scan probably mid-March to see, what changes I've made, see if there's been any progress towards those sort of slight fat reduction goals and adding a bit of muscle goals. So 2025 is going to be a really important year for me for running training. I want to be able to run the 50 miles ultra on my 50th birthday, which is March 2026. And I'm going to need all the tools I can get. Given the injuries I've had over the past couple of years, it's not going to come easy. And I think DEXA can be part of that toolkit, just not something I'm going to do very often. And I'll go back and have another scan, like I say, mostly just because I'm curious. That's how I am. So I hope you found that interesting. I think if you're thinking about a scan, They're not massively expensive, and if you're analytical like me, I think you would find it very interesting. If you've had a scan, I would love to hear what your results are, and you know how you've used that information to inform your nutrition and training plans. Okay, see you later.